Hey guys, it's Andrew, and this is why we're fat. So I got some questions in the chats and the messages and things about some of the tools that I use. We talked about sheet pans once before, but I want to talk about knives and cutting boards. So, and what do you really need versus all of the fancy things you see in the stores and all of the, when you talk about cutting boards, all the different colors and things of cutting boards. Let's talk about, though, what you really need. And I thought I would do knives and cutting boards together because they kind of go together. So I have had these knives since I think I got my first one when I was 17 or 18. So I've had them for a bit. They are whooshed off, in my opinion, the best German knife. But I have a paring knife. So these are what I think are essential. So I have one other Japanese cleaver that when I was young I thought was super fancy and I totally wanted it, but I barely ever use it. So, but a paring knife, super important. Small, easy to use, and it's what you kind of use to do some delicate work. I have a utility knife that is a utility knife. If you look at it, and I'm embarrassed, but I'm going to show you, it has a little bitty bent tip. But it's going to go to the knife sharpener, hopefully when things get a little better, and get that fixed up. I have a 12-inch chef knife. I think a 10-inch or a 12-inch is the right size for a chef knife. The smaller 8 inches that you'll see, I think, they're just too small. And if you're going to use an 8-inch chef knife, you could probably get away with a sandwich knife anyways, and not need a chef's knife. But the chef knife is your primary tool. This is the knife I use the most. It's beautifully weighted, but it's also expensive, and you don't need expensive versions of this if you're not a super, fancy cook. My parents have a really nice set of KitchenAid knives that does just fine for my parents. I think my sisters have a Cuisinart set that does just fine. What I like is a full tang, so that means the metal of the blade goes all the way to the edge of the handle. The biggest thing is whatever knife you get never goes in the dishwasher, ever. Because the fastest way to ruin a cheaper knife or a more cost-effective knife is to put it in the dishwasher. It starts to separate the metal from the handle, the heat, it just doesn't do well with the steel. I have a bread knife. Super important. I think that everybody should have a serrated knife. And then I have my sandwich knife that I use kind of to cut wraps and kind of things like that. And then Matt, for Christmas and my birthday this year, bought me some nice fancy new knives. These are super expensive, super nice Japanese steel. This is a chef's knife. The brand is Shun, and it's the Kramer handle. These only come out for special occasions right now because they're super nice, but they've got an onion skin finish. It's kind of hard to see probably in the video, but I keep these in here. You could shave with these. They're super sharp. Oh, hi Paige. Probably not the best idea to be on the counter with the knives. But those are my knives. So those are the 5 I think you need. Again, you can get them in a grocery. You can get them in a Target or a Walmart or something like that. You don't need to get the super fancy knives if you want to make an investment in them. Like I said, I've had these for upwards of 20 years at this point. So they obviously last a long time if you take care of them. If you do buy whooshed off or any of the expensive brands like Shun or things like that, I would make the effort to find a knife sharpener local to you. You can definitely use what's called a knife steel to what they call true the edge of the knife. But doing this is not sharpening the knife. Using those root, that's not actually sharpening the knife. That's just re-straightening that razor edge that's at the tip of the knife so that it cuts better. But in order to properly maintain knives, they need to be whetstoned. I have mine whetstone probably every 6 months, though I could probably use to do it more frequently. It's not always super cheap if I do them all at once, so I try to rotate through them as well. All right, so that's knives. Let's talk about cutting boards. More and more I have been seeing in the Facebook ads and things like that I need to buy these big sets of cutting boards that are all different colors and one for red meat, and one for chicken and poultry, and one for fish, and one for veggies. You know what? No. You need a couple of dishwasher safe plastic cutting boards that you can use for meat that can go in the dishwasher and get sanitized, right? Period. So I have this set I probably got on Amazon. I think it was like 15 bucks. I've got a little one that I pull out when it's cocktail time and I need to cut a lemon. And I've got two more that work for cutting chicken breasts or slicing steaks and things like that. What I do suggest, though, is making an investment in one big, heavy wooden cutting board. This is a newer brand that I found from LA called Sonder. Super great. It's been a beautiful cutting board. It's about 6 months old at this point. End grain wood. They had a lot of different options. It wasn't super expensive. You can find some of these end grain ones for several $100s. This was not that. But it's two-sided, so it's got a side that has prep wells, so I can cut and push things into prep wells. And then it's also got a meat slicing edge. It's got a nice guttered edge around the weld edge on the side, so it catches juices and things if I were to slice meat on it. But this lives on my counter. You've probably seen it in my videos. I use it for everything. But this is another thing. The last cutting board I have, the wood one that was here, was a bamboo one, and I had that one for 15 years before I decided to kind of get a new one. If you take care of these, and by taking care of these, similar to knives, you have to oil these. And they sell a variety of different oils, but you could also just use canola oil on like things you cook with. They can never be soaked in water. These also don't go in the dishwasher. They just get kind of wiped off with a sponge and cleaned in that kind of way, and make sure that they dry completely. Whenever we wash it, we set ours up like this so that it dries on both sides. The fastest way for a wood cutting board like this to get ruined is for water to start seeping into the joints between the wood pieces and then split the glue that kind of split the wood. But yeah, so these are my cutting boards. I do all of my cooking. I've done meals for 60 people out of this kitchen. I've done 14-course meals for 6 people out of this kitchen with just these cutting boards. So if it works for that, it'll definitely work for you. But again, you need a chef's knife of some length. Like I said, I like 10 to 12 inches is my favorite preferred. You need a serrated a serrated bread knife. You need a utility knife. You need what's called a sandwich knife generally, or a short utility depending on kind of the brand. And you need a paring knife. Most of your knife sets will come with a steel, which is what you use to true the blade. And then you need your cutting boards. You need a couple that can go in the dishwasher. They can all be the same size. They can be varying sizes like I have. And one nice heavy wooden cutting board that you can use. But yeah, so this is my kitchen essentials. These are my knives. These are my cutting boards. This is what I use. I don't think you need anything else. I don't think you need anything fancy. There are, like I said, there's certain places like the wood cutting board where you do want to make a little bit of an investment so that it lasts. But the rest of it is super cost effective and super easy to find. Most of your online retailers, plus there's obviously the Targets, the Walmarts, and places like that. You can go to specialty stores like Crate and Barrel or Sur La Table and get any of this, or most of it, pretty easily. So yeah, knives and cutting boards. Make sure you have the right stuff. The last thing I will tell you, the last thing before I finish, is a sharp knife is safer than a dull knife. A sharp knife is going to make a nice clean cut. It's going to cut a little deeper probably if you were to cut yourself, and you're more likely to cut yourself with a sharp knife. But when you cut yourself with a dull knife, it's going to hurt more and it's going to do a lot more damage. So keeping your knives healthy, which means never the dishwashers, truing the steel, taking them to a knife sharpener place, and having them put on a stone regularly is the right way to both keep you safe and well as your family and other people that are around you while you're using your knives in your kitchen. So yep, this is Andrew, this is Why We're Fat, and these are my knives and my cutting boards. Hooray! And it's gonna blink. Yep, perfect. Peace out.